Hey, Free. Good morning. With everything that's been going on in the world, especially in our country here in the last couple of weeks, I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts. I thought Pastor Matt did a wonderful job last week in the email. If you didn't read it, make sure you do. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the George Floyd tragedy, protests, the riots, and the looting. And I want to turn to Scripture as our source. And as I've been thinking about and just reflecting on and experiencing and sharing all the emotions with all of you, I've been looking at Scripture and saying, what does God really want for us here? And I do think, without a doubt, that what Jesus would be saying to us is exactly what we've been hearing. Black lives matter. Period. Take a look at your scriptures with me. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. I'll be reading from the New International Version. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, starting in verse 22. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. This scripture has always been near and dear to my heart. I've seen it, just the need for it in so many different aspects, but particularly so today. Black Lives Matter. And I know some people are saying, oh, but all lives matter. And now, while that's true, I do believe that this scripture demonstrates to us that there are times in a society's history, or that there are events that require, or circumstances that demand, that specific parts of the body need to receive special honor, need to be treated with special care, need to be given greater care, greater love. And that is the situation we are in today in America. All lives matter, no doubt about that. I don't think Scripture would ever deny that. And yet, what we find in this passage is this unique challenge to Christians, to the church, to take those who have been treated dishonorably, to care for those who have been treated unfairly or dismissed and pushed out of the mainstream. And yet, at the same time, those who have experienced the benefits of the society are given no special treatment. All lives matter, yes. Black lives matter now. You see what this scripture teaches is that if one part suffers, every part suffers with it. And right now, our community, our African American community, our people of color community is suffering. And as a result, our country is bankrupt. Our community is bankrupt. Our churches are bankrupt. And yes, our very lives are bankrupt because a part of our community is suffering injustice, prejudice, and discrimination. I've often thought, as I've watched the news, where would Jesus be standing in all of this? Would he be wearing riot gear and holding a riot shield and pushing back? Would he be sequestered in some home safely away, just minding his own business, hoping, somebody will figure it out? Or would he be right there, right amongst the people? This scripture teaches us the heart of God. But I think the actions of Jesus are reflected in Philippians chapter 2 even better. And it says that he did not hold on to being God, but instead gave of himself. He released everything that he had so that those who are without might have access. I wonder what that looks like for us today. I wonder what steps you and I can take specifically, not just to gain knowledge, but to actively demonstrate, to actively promote Black Lives Matter. I feel so limited in what I can do. And yet I know I have a special privilege. I'm a pastor of a church, so I have a voice to a community that I can challenge and tell you we are bankrupt until and unless Black Lives Matter as much as everyone else's. And that to get there, it does require that we have to give them extra care, extra honor, extra privilege, extra opportunity, extra resources, greater freedom to come into and experience a different standard of life, greater freedom. So we can do this as a church and extend that greater grace towards people of color, greater forgiveness, greater acceptance, greater care, greater honor, greater status. Black lives matter. They matter to Jesus, and I believe they matter to Jesus today. I'm privileged also, besides being a pastor, to be running a small company. We have 70 plus employees now. And in that company, I've experienced that people have all these different struggles that I don't experience in my life. And I think part of it is, or a significant part of it is, because I grew up basically with a silver spoon compared to so many of them. And as a result, the way I respond to situations, the way I think, the way I grab grab problems and try to figure them out, it's very different in how I do it than how I see a lot of my employees do it. And I wonder, what is the difference? And I think fundamentally the difference is I've lived a privileged life. And so I have all these resources and way of thinking and training and college and opportunity and access that they never had. I've had the privilege of a stable family and stable income and a home and not worry about homelessness. I always had a car. I mean, all these things that are just basic things to me. And yet I see some on my staff. It's almost as if the thing that I would consider, that's just a small issue. For them, it knocks them completely off where they cannot work. And so to expect them to, hey, you need to do things the way I do because, look at my life, look at my example. It's totally a wrong perspective to have. because I did not grow up the way they did. I do not have limitations the way they have limitations. And so in order for me, as a leader, as a business owner, I have to extend, and this is what I do, is I extend a greater level of grace to them. I mean, just a greater level. Because I could see, although the problems encountered would not knock me off my feet, they knock them off their feet. And then it becomes this pattern. And so in order for us to create a way for us to extend more grace, to extend honor, to extend privilege, to extend access, we also have to extend greater freedom to make mistakes. Let us all work together. Let us all be the church. Let us all realize that our church will never be the church of Jesus until Black lives matter. Lord bless you this day.